After World War II, the Soviet Union realized that it was falling behind in the jet race, and so a proposal was brought forth to Stalin to buy British engines. Stalin said, "What fool would sell us their secrets?" After the British sold their best Rolls-Royce engines to the Soviet Union a short while later, the MiG-15 took flight. It would go on to become an iconic aircraft, one that battled a fellow iconic aircraft, the American F-86 Sabre, both in the skies over Korea and on my television screen as I played War Thunder. But the reason this plane is iconic isn't because of its airframe, engine, armaments, or history. It's because of its NATO codename, which I cannot say audibly, so just use your imagination, or use your mouth if you so will. 1958 is a special year. Not just because Marilyn Monroe was arguably in her peak, but because it marked a turning point in aviation history. Boeing's 707 entered regular service with Pan Am, having made its first flight a year prior in December of 1957. Now okay, it wasn't the first commercial jetliner. You could find others in service, however it was the first to see widespread use. It dominated air travel in the 60s and still remained a household name in the 70s. In fact, it was used up until 2013 with Iran's Saha Airlines. Yeah, I would not go on that. But I sure would go on this, the SR-71 Blackbird. You know, many teenagers and kids have posters of attractive women and even more attractive cars pinned up on their walls, and I guarantee it, you will also find a lot of SR-71 pictures pinned up, and how can you not? Made by Lockheed's Skunk Works division, which deserves a separate video in and of itself, the Blackbird was a strategic reconnaissance aircraft that could fly at over Mach 3. It was so fast that it outran a Soviet surface-to-air missile, flying higher and faster to evade it, which it did so successfully. It needs 100 miles arc to make a turn. A total of 32 Blackbirds were made, with 2 being found in museums, and it was also used by NASA. We can say without a doubt that the US has some iconic planes and have dominated the air, but that doesn't mean others don't have icons of their own. The Germans, for example, during World War II had a plethora of aircraft, but of course the one that stands out the most is the Me-262, being the first operational fighter jet. It was one of Mustache Man's wonder weapons, and it can be argued that if Steiner had more and had actually done his counterattack, that the war would have gone slightly. Putting aside military blunders for a second, the Messerschmitt 262, nicknamed Schwalbe, German for swallow, made its first jet-powered flight in 1942, and was operated as a reconnaissance aircraft, fighter, night fighter, and bomber.
What was that? What the hell was that? It went by like we were standing still.
After the end of the war, the plane didn't really fly all too often, but the Czechoslovak Air Force did use them up until 1951. It was also used by another country covertly. And finally, one of my personal favorites, the Queen of the Skies, the 747.
Who's going to get this incredible bird off the ground? Now you know. Pan Am will bring you the world's first 747. Pan Am will bring you the plane with all the room in the world.
Boeing's masterpiece. Many argue Boeing has made better planes, but not in my eyes. There's something about a 747 that can really make you just stand and admire in awe. Manufactured between 1963 and 2023, the massive plane was a massive success. Unlike its bigger, more blobby sibling, the A380, but that's a topic for another day. I love the A380, by the way. 4 engines, Pratt & Whitney, over 1,500 built, and that iconic hump. An absolute engineering marvel and a plane still used today. One could argue that it's timeless. Of course, this list is not finished. Actually, it's nowhere near finished, and I intend to do so in another video. But the next will be an in-depth dive into some of my favorite planes. So, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see that.